everyone, welcome back to another color and chat and answer your questions video. I believe this is part 4 in the series that I'm doing here on my channel. A lot of you had submitted questions through my Facebook group. I had created a post and said, what questions do y'all want answered? And I got a lot of comments. I have a whole ton of questions. I did the same thing on my YouTube community tab. And so I'm kind of doing them all in order and just going along and answering all of your questions. If you've not seen the previous 3 videos I've done in this series yet, I will make sure that I have the playlist for that linked in the upper right hand corner so that you could check that out. If you are not already subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up because that really helps my videos to be seen by others in the coloring community. Today we're going to be coloring in Maria Trolle's Nightfall. I absolutely love this book. You guys know that this is one of my absolute favorite books. If you've been following me for a while, you can tell because so many of my coloring tutorials, I always end up pulling out this book. I love the paper in it, and it works so well with so many different pencils. Today we're going to be using the squared Brutfuner pencils. That's what we've been using in all the previous series to color this page. So this is the page in Nightfall that we are coloring, and in the first video I showed you how I colored the shingles on the roof, and then we did the bushes down here, and then I went to the top and I did the dragonfly, and I'm just trying to kind of bring all the colors together. And I am following a color palette. I got that color palette from Sarah Renee Clark's color catalog. This is the first version of the catalog. There are 2 volumes that you can purchase together, or you can purchase one or the other separate if you'd like. And the way that I found this color palette that I'm using is I just used this really handy tool that I keep on my phone so that I can match up the colors, and I just selected by color and I looked at the roof to see, I kind of wanted to add some green in it. I picked the color palette after I had colored the roof because I wanted to make sure that I was able to add green, and so I wanted to find a palette that had some variations of this color here as well as green in it. To find out what color was going to match up the most and still have green in it, I just looked at the shingles here on the roof after I had already selected the colors that I wanted to use, and I just kind of zoomed this in to see which one would be the closest match. And so I found the ultraviolet here and I clicked through, and then of course it gives me all of the palettes that I can use the ultraviolet for. And I immediately spotted this one that had some green in it. These are all the ultraviolet ones, and there are a couple, and this one has a little bit of green in it, but it's more like a teal green, and I really didn't want that. I wanted a true green, and I loved this bright, vibrant green. So this is the palette that I've been using, and of course I love butterflies, so I loved that there was a butterfly there too. But that's besides the point. Anyways, I loved this bright, bright green, and so I was able to match that color up with my pencils by using this color. I just absolutely love it. So I was able to bring all of those colors together, and these are the pencils that we are using so far for this page. So as you can see, they all kind of fit somewhere in this palette. But isn't that so cool how color palettes work? I just absolutely love it. If you guys are interested in the color catalog, it is a fabulous tool. I have been having so much fun with it since I received it. And I will have links down in the description box below for the color catalog if you're interested in me showing you exactly how it works a little bit more in depth. I do have another video where I showed you how to choose your colors for your color pages, and you can check out that video. I'll make sure that's linked in the upper right hand corner. But it's really cool because you could just choose by colors, keywords, or collections, and every time you click on something it just brings you right to whatever it is you're searching for. Like you can see here that it's got all the different collections that you can choose from. And so you could just pick, like that one was called Beautiful Food. And so it brings you all to all of the palettes that are inspired by food. So if you were coloring food in your coloring page, you can go here and find whatever type of food it is and find some kind of inspiration. You don't necessarily have to just choose one specific color palette. Ooh, that one's pretty. But you don't have to necessarily just choose one specific color palette for the entire page. If you wanted to, you can pick and choose color palettes per object and just kind of go to find another color palette that may have like I'm looking at this dark green here. You can find another color palette that maybe has dark green in it, and if you wanted to bring other colors in, you can, like say this one has a dark green in it too, you can move to this one for another object on the page so that you could bring in other colors that would look really great with that. And then you could see the actual picture up here that the colors were pulled from, so you could kind of see how the colors look together. Oh gosh, isn't that beautiful? Those colors are so pretty. But anyways, that's enough about the color catalog. If you're interested in getting your own, you can check the description box below, and I will have a link for that down there. So I haven't really decided what I want to color yet. I did go ahead and just take a screenshot of the color palette because I am going to have to match up some colors. And like I showed you guys in my previous videos, I always try to bring the colors from one other part of the page into another part of the page. If you look at this dragonfly up here, you can see that I kind of brought the color or the colors that were here in the shingles of the roof, and I just kind of brought them upward because it's always so important to add balance to your page while you're also adding in other colors. So like these colors were the shades, or where I'm using the shades of red and pink and such, I can use those colors to kind of bring down to the other side of the page and color some flowers if I wanted to do that. And let me see, what are we going to color today? I'm trying to think what color I want the door to be on this page, and I'm wondering if I should bring some of the shades of the purple that I did in the shingles and add them to the door, and then do the background of the house, maybe another color. Maybe we'll go ahead and do the house today. I went and grabbed my color swatch chart where I swatched out all the 120 colors from the Squared Brut Funer set. And so we are going to go ahead and pick some colors because I think we're going to go ahead and color the house today. And I don't know, I think I want to kind of do the house in lighter, paler pink colors. Let me look at the color palette one more time. And we don't really have any lighter pinks in this particular palette, but we could take this very hot pink over here and we could actually add lighter pinks to it. And I've already got some lighter pinks that I've been using. I've got this color here, which is 011. And so let's find that color on our sheet here. So here is 011. It translates to cherry blossom. If you guys didn't already see the video where I swatched out every single one of these colors and put them in perfect color family order, I will make sure that's linked in the upper right hand corner. I've done a lot with these Brut Funer pencils, and actually it's all in a playlist. So maybe I'll just link the playlist and you can click on that link and you can find every video that I've ever made with these pencils, but there's quite a few now. So we've got this cherry blossom color here, and I want to do the house in kind of like paler colors, but we're gonna need to use a color for our shadows. So maybe we can bring some of the colors we used up here in the dragonfly kind of down into the house. And we can have kind of a pink and purple house, but I really want some more muted tones. So let me see here. So we've got, oh, I bet this would be pretty. Are we already using this 017? I don't think we are. I think that would be really pretty for a house, and I think that would come in really nicely with this color. Those look really pretty together. And this kind of is like a more muted type color. So it kind of looks like it could be like the color of, I don't know what a house would be, you think? If we kind of mix those two colors together, or maybe we could do the house with the flamingo and the lilac. That would be beautiful. And then maybe we could bring in another color for our shadows. Maybe we could use this 104 again. So that is the color we were already using for our house, and we've got some in the shingles. So we could kind of, I wonder if we should try to create texture on our house. That would be kind of cool too. So let's go ahead and go with the 104 and 017 and 011. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in a couple of the colors we're already using, which is these two colors we already did use in, I think, the dragonfly, maybe, possibly. And I can't remember. I think I did actually use this one in the shingles. So we're bringing in the two colors that we used in the shingles, but we're actually going to bring in another color just to change it up a little bit. And we're going to lay the colors down differently so that it doesn't look like the shingles. I'm wondering if I have the ability to do that. I guess we're going to find out. So let me grab my 017. So what do I always tell you guys? I always tell you before you lay your colors down on your coloring page, always make sure that you test them out. So let's go ahead and just, this one is only going to be used for possibly a little bit of texture. So I'm just going to kind of sporadically lay it around. I'm wondering if I can get away with adding texture on this house and making it look really super cool, like maybe it's stucco or something. We're going to find out. I don't know how I'll be able to do that and still answer questions and concentrate at the same time. So let's see. I'm just trying to get an idea of what I'm going to actually do on the house. Oh, this is good. Yes, I think I know what I'm going to do, guys. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. And then maybe leave a little bit of white. Okay, I know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do, and these colors are going to work perfectly. Okay, so let me zoom you in just a little bit. And we're actually going to do just this part of the house in this video. And I think that when I do the door, I'm going to use the colors that I used here in the top part. Or I might even add a little bit more red to the door. I don't know. I don't want too many colors in my house because I don't want it to take away from the other parts of the page, but I still want it to be the focal point. So I've got my 011 and my 017 and my 104. So before I start coloring, let me go ahead and look at the first question. So the first question is from Maribeth Shreves Kohlberg, and she asked me how to color an object to make it look shiny or wet. Okay, so I could kind of explain this, but this is kind of more of a tutorial, which if you guys are interested, I'd be happy to bring you a tutorial on this. But to make a object on the page, like, my gosh, I wish I had an example to show you guys, but if I say I was doing something kind of like I wanted to make it look shiny, and I was doing something in, say, one of, oh my gosh, who is it? Jasmine Beckett-Griffith's books. But you know how on some of her girls, I'm just going to start laying some of the colors down, and I'm just going to lay the highlight color just kind of all around. But you know how on some of her girls she has, you know, tights on a lot of her girls, and you want to kind of make the center part of the tights as you're coloring them, at least I do. I like to make them so that they look a little bit shiny in the centers. And so the way that I do that is I lay the colors, I choose my color combination, and I lay all the colors down in the order that I want them, of course, with the darkest shadowing color closer to the outside. I kind of decide where the light is going to be hitting, and then I decide where my center is going to be. I should really do a tutorial for this. You guys need to let me know if you would like to see that, but I just take the center part where I would assume that the light is reflecting down upon her legs, and I would leave that section white and just use the white of the paper. Now, if I'm coloring in a book where the paper is not necessarily a very white paper, then if you wanted to, you can always take your Posca pen or your white gel pen. But here is my Posca pen that I like to use to make things look a little bit quote unquote wet or shiny or whatever. And when you lay it down, I've done videos on this where I kind of show you how to lay it down and then use your fingertip to kind of just smear it across the page so that it doesn't look so heavy, and it just creates the little bit of white that you need if you spread it and kind of pick some up with your finger. And this is my favorite gel pen, white gel pen, and this is the Uniball Signo. This is the only one that I found that does not, or that will lay on top of something like a Prismacolor that has a lot of wax in it. So that is how I would do that. Now I'm going to come back here, and I want this to kind of be sort of a tutorial. So let me go ahead and talk first about what I'm trying to do here. So like I said, I'm so used to doing this, something like this with my Prismacolors, and so this is going to be a little bit different because it's so easy for me to create textures with my Prismacolors, and I just do it so naturally. But if you could see, I'm just kind of laying this color sporadically around the front of the house, just where I think that I might want some color. But I think this is going to look really cool when it's done, and once I start adding the darker color in there, it's really going to pop. And I'll show you when I get to that the areas where you would lay your darkest color. I'm just kind of, and with these pencils, you have to kind of lay them, like I've said in my previous videos, you have to lay them in layers. So like wherever I've already laid this color, I want to come back and I want to lay a little bit more so that the pigment really stands out. Can you see how the color just kind of gets darker when I go over the areas where that particular color was already laying? But that is how you use oil-based pencils. You have to kind of layer the colors, and you will see more pigment on your paper as you just kind of lay the colors down in layers. And you don't need a lot of pressure with your pencil. When you're using oil-based pencils, you never really want to use a lot of pressure because you're going to use the tooth of the paper up really quickly if you use a lot of pressure or are pushing too hard with your hand. I would recommend just kind of holding the pencil back a little bit further like I am, because as you get closer to the tip of the pencil, anytime you want to add more pressure, you would be closer to the tip, and then the further back you are with your pencil, the pressure will be lighter and lighter. Like if I hold it all the way back here, I am going to be applying even lighter pressure. And this is probably best when you're using oil-based pencils until you're ready to kind of just bring all the colors together, and then you would just move closer to the tip. But can you see how the colors are just piling up and the pigment is just kind of going down more so on the paper as I add more and more layers? They work very differently than something like a Prismacolor that is very wax-based and very soft. And if you're heavy-handed, an oil-based pencil may actually be better for you. But for those of you that are heavy-handed, it is best to keep your hand way back on your pencil, because if you do that, it's not going to allow you to keep applying really hard pressure onto your pencil. So I kind of have enough of that, I think, laying around. That looks really pretty. It looks so natural. Wait till you see when I start adding the darkest color. It's going to look super, super cool. Let's go ahead and move on to the next question. So the next question is by Jane Elizabeth Treese. And she says, I noticed that you go back and forth between a couple of colors, laying layers upon layers, and I wonder why you do that. Okay, so she asked me a few questions, and I'll just kind of go in order. Well, let me finish reading her question, because I think they might all go together. I know it adds dimension, but I seem to put down more color than you do using just 2 or 3 layers. Okay, so that's what I was just talking about, actually. You're probably a little bit more heavy-handed than I'm being, and it makes a huge difference in how many layers are going to go down on the paper. And the reason I kind of go back and forth between my pencils is I like to do things slowly, because a lot of times when I'm first starting out, I don't exactly know, like what I'm doing right now. This is a perfect example, because I really don't know where I want to go with this. And if I do it very lightly, then it helps me to be able to decide as I go along, you know, and I just kind of think it through exactly where I want to go with it and where I want my colors and stuff. And so, I don't know, that's why I do that. I don't like to just lay down a whole bunch of pigment onto the paper and use real hard pressure immediately, because one, you are getting rid of all of the tooth of the paper, and so you won't be able to add any more layers with your pencils. So if you damage the tooth of the paper with heavy pressure way too soon, you're just kind of defeating the purpose of the magic of the colored pencils. So if you really want to be creative with your colored pencils, and you want them to perform in the way that they're meant to perform. Oh, I am loving this. Look at this. I get so excited when I do something and I'm just like, yes, that's how I want it. That was my idea. That's what I envisioned. Okay. So, this is my darkest color, guys. This is a 104. But I'm going very, very lightly. I probably should pull my hand back a little bit more. I'm just trying to concentrate a little bit here. I'll get back to the question, but I don't want to mess up what I'm doing because I really love how it's coming out. And then kind of over here where you have something laying up against the house, you're naturally going to have more shadow in there. Guys, if you don't have these pencils, you need to get these pencils. They are so amazing. And then here where the windows are, you want more color in those areas. So I need to come down here and kind of go the opposite direction just to add a little bit dimension to kind of make it like the windows kind of standing out. So this is one instance where you are not necessarily going to burnish in all of your colors, because I'm trying to create some type of texture on this house to make it look more natural. I'm gonna have to grab my mono eraser. It just went into the door just a little bit. I'm sure I'll be able to fix that though. I hope that when you guys watch my videos, you see that sometimes I make mistakes, because so many people are always so concerned about making mistakes on their coloring pages. And I want you guys to know, and I've told you this before, that all mistakes are fixable. And also, what you think is a mistake is not necessarily going to look like a mistake to someone else. So I'm trying to make sure that oh, look how sharp and beautiful that lead is. You guys know I used my Doll 133 for that. And these pencils, if you're not using really hard pressure, they are going to hold their lead for quite some time. Oh, this looks so good. But this kind of goes back to the question I was answering, and this is exactly why I add my colors so slowly, and I kind of go back and forth between my colors. And a lot of you will notice that I always just I'm always either have a pencil laid down here, or I'll have several colors that I just hold in my hand. So I could kind of go back and forth between colors as I want to grab them and switch them around. And that just kind of helps me to have my pencils available in my other hand as I'm working, because I feel like it kind of just helps me to go a little bit quicker, because I am a slow colorist. And I don't mind being a slow colorist because, I don't know, to me, it's like there's no rush. I'm doing this to relax and be creative. And there is no reason for me to rush through it. Oh, I gotta come back here on the window. And then up here. And I'm just going to keep doing this all around all of the windows. And if you guys are looking at this, you can see that, like, you can see the colors that are in the roof or in the shingles, because we used 2 of those colors, but we brought in another color. And so it just really makes the colors just really come together, and it's going to help still make my house the focal point of my coloring page without taking away from anything else. Okay, so let me take a little break and look at the rest of her question and see if I answered it all. So what else okay, so can you just talk us through that? I never know how to get the highlights and the shadows in the right place. Okay, so getting the highlights and the shadows in the right place, that's kind of a whole nother thing. Like on this page, I don't want you guys to think that you always need to be really specific about, okay, where's the light coming from? Where should I add my highlights? And basically just have a whole stream of light like coming down your page like this, because you really don't need to do that. And focusing so much on something like that and being so specific just kind of takes away from the joy of coloring. And I don't know, I go about doing things differently. Like sometimes I have done that before, like I did a color along. I think it was our Christmas in July color along that is still on my page, and I was coloring in a Hannah Lynn book, and I wanted it to look like I just kind of had a stream of highlight right in one center, just coming down like this. And I did that in that case, but I don't always do it. Most of the time I'll just add my highlights sporadically where I want them, and it's okay to do that. Like on this house, you're gonna see that because I'm trying to add texture, I'm not choosing any one specific place where I want my highlights to be. I'm just trying to make it look like it's very texturized. And if you're interested in seeing another video on how I added texture, I just published one yesterday, and that was in the Forest Girl book, and I showed you how to create texture coloring wood, and I'll make sure that is linked in the upper right hand corner as well. But as far as Jane's question, yeah, I do go back and forth, and that's because I just want to do things slowly as the ideas just come to my head. And I don't know, that's why I do that. But yeah, to add dimension, you don't want to go in and just lay a whole bunch of colors down and a whole bunch of layers immediately and damage the tooth of your paper, because you want the pencils to be able to do what they are naturally supposed to do. So I hope I answered your question. If you have any more questions about that and you're watching this, Jane, or anybody else has any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Any questions I find in the comments below, I do add them to my list of questions, and I'm trying to go in order. So your question will be put at the end, but it will get answered. So my next question is by Melissa Chapman Marks, and she said, how well do Prismas perform on the paper in the Tatiana Mogima books? I think I'm saying her name right. She's the one who makes a lot of the books that have, I think she's got some interior books, and she also has a lot of the, gosh, what are they called? The little town books, where she has the little animals in the little towns. They're very, very cute, but the paper in those books, I think I have one, and the paper in those books seems even thinner to me than the regular Amazon paper. I don't know if maybe I have an old copy of the book. Apparently I have this book, and this is the Nice Little Town 4. I bought this a long time ago. I've not done a whole lot of coloring in it. What do I have in here? Oh, I did do a little bit of coloring in it, but yeah, I was coloring cherries, and it looks like I'm looking at my coloring in this book, and it's just like, I don't know, paper makes such a huge difference, guys. Like, paper makes a huge difference. Like, if I'm looking at this, I could still see that I could go back here. I don't even remember what pencils I used for this, but this was done quite a long time ago, and I think I was probably just practicing how to color cherries. Yeah, that's probably what I was doing, but I remember not being very happy with the paper in these books because it is very, very thin. I really think that, I don't know, has the Amazon paper changed over time? Because this is still the Create Space paper, I'm pretty sure. It has the black background on the pages, but I don't know, I wish I remembered what pencil. I might have just been testing out pencils all while trying to practice coloring cherries. But I think that I wasn't happy with the paper, and that's why I didn't finish it. You guys can see my messy swatch sheet over here on the other side. But this is the only book that I actually have by her, and I think that she does have an Etsy store. So if I were going to buy any more of her art, I would probably go to her Etsy store, because I think that's why I didn't finish coloring it, because I was just a little disappointed with the paper in the books. But a lot of the Amazon books are like that. I have a Hannah Lynn book right here, and let me see. I don't know. I don't know, the paper, I don't know, this feels a little bit more toothy to me if I'm comparing them. I just checked with the other one over there, but I color in the Hannah Lynn books all the time, and I even did the color along that I was talking about earlier, where I did the Christmas in July color along, and it was in a Hannah Lynn book. I will link that up in the upper right hand corner so y'all can see that, but I colored right in the book, so you can see. I think I did that one, I'm pretty sure I did that with Prismacolors, but if you go back and you watch that, you can see how my Prismacolors actually performed in the paper in those Amazon books. So she asked me, how many layers will that particular paper accept before the tooth flattens? So as far as how many layers it accepts, that has not just a lot to do with the paper. Of course, it is going to accept less layers than if you were coloring on something like my favorite paper, which would be the Spring Hill paper. This is my Spring Hill paper, and it is absolutely fabulous. I love this paper. They just had a really good sale a couple days ago, and I showed you all that in my Facebook group, and I actually grabbed a couple reams of this because it was so cheap. Even when it is regular price, it's still only $10 for this huge ream of paper. So you cannot beat that. What you can do is you can take these coloring books that use the Create Space paper that are just kind of produced by Amazon, and you can take the pages in there, and I like to lay them out flat on my printer. If you take the book and you push it down on the center, it's not really going to damage your book at all. I lay them on my my copier, and I just scan them into my computer. I actually have a video where I show you how to do that, but I scan them into my computer and I print out the page onto my Spring Hill paper, and then I color it that way. And I use my Prismacolors or whatever pencils I want to use, and it works out for me that way. But I'm going to come back and start pulling together some of these colors and get a little more pigment down on this paper, because I am doing so much talking, answering your guys' questions. That I'm gonna end up having to stop this video, and my house is not going to be done. Now notice I'm turning my pencil, and I do that to avoid having to continually sharpen my pencil. If you just turn it as you go, and you can see this is laying even more pigment down on the paper from my mid-tone. And I'm just kind of sporadically laying the colors. And that darkest color that I had, I'm kind of blending that in with this color. But I really love how this is turning out. And here I kind of have like a little bit of a flat line from that darkest color. So I am trying to make sure that I don't have any flat lines. Oh, and see, that's why I keep all my pencils just in my hand, so that I could just kind of grab them and I can go back and forth. But I noticed I forgot to color that area with my darkest color. See how I'm just kind of going in here, and the more you lay down with these pencils, the much darker and vibrant the colors will be. And see, I'm using a little bit harder pressure now. And I'm going to come up under here, under this window, and make sure that this really stands out. And then all around the door. And I'm probably going to answer one more question in this video, but I kind of want to finish with the tutorial part of it. And I really am loving this series. You guys will have to tell me if this series is beneficial to you. I love being able to answer your questions and do sort of a coloring tutorial at the same time with all of the objects on this page. I'm kind of thinking that I might want to add a little bit more of some harsher lines in here with my darkest color. But I know that my videos get quite long, especially the ones in this series, and they take quite a long time to edit as well. But I want to, at least in these videos, make sure that I finish whatever the object is that I'm coloring, and that I get I answer at least 3 people's questions. I just want to make sure that I'm answering your questions in depth, and so that when y'all are asking these questions and really want answers, that you have a clear picture of what it is I'm trying to say, because a lot of these are really questions that I would demonstrate in like a tutorial format. And some of them I'm actually saving for that, so that I can actually do a tutorial on whatever it was that was asked. And you guys gave me a lot of ideas for tutorials, which is really great. I need to sharpen this pencil. It's just not working for me anymore. You guys know I always use my Doll 133. And there were some questions in my Facebook group about people saying that the Doll 133 was eating up their pencils, and it should not eat up your pencils. The only reason it would eat up your pencils is if you are sharpening way too much. So don't put your pencil in there and wait for the pencil sharpener to stop. As you can see, when I just sharpened my pencil, I only did a couple turns. What did I do? Maybe 3, maybe 4 at the most just now. But yeah, I wanted to be able to answer that on video for all of those that are watching this, because a lot of times if I post in the Facebook group, a lot of those things kind of get unseen by certain people. And so I figure if I mention it in a video, that it will get heard by many more. Okay, I think we need to come back and start adding more of our highlight color, but I think that I really like the way that it's looking. It kind of just looks like natural and has a little bit of texture. But let me go ahead and answer one more question. Our last question is going to come from Sarah Barnett, and she says, how do you decide what page to color next? Do you use a fixer or setting spray? What books and, oh, this is a lot of questions. What books and supplies do you think are essential for beginners trying to get started? And finally, how do you make the time to color? Do you plan it into your week, or do you just do it when you feel like it? Okay, so let me start at the beginning, and I'm going to take a little break from coloring so I can answer all her questions. And one of these I actually have a video for, so I'm going to make sure it's linked in the upper right hand corner. So her first question, she says, how do you decide what page to color next? I think I actually talked about that in one of my videos, or maybe this was a previous question, but I kind of just pick a book, I look at the book, and I try to find a page that gives me a little bit of inspiration. Like, I don't know, it has to be something that I want to color, and I'm gonna look at it. I'll know that it gives me inspiration, but I'm just trying to now kind of come back with this highlight color, leave a little bit of white in, you know, on the object, but still blend some of these colors through with my lighter color. Okay, so, and yeah, I'm trying to kind of just blend some of these colors out so it looks more texturized and I don't have any flat lines. Anyway, so yeah, I just open a book, choose an artist that I think will have a page that is going to inspire me. Like a lot of times I pick up this book. You guys know how much I love this book. But I don't know. If it gives me inspiration, I'll know, because I will pick it up and look at a page, and instantly thoughts will start coming into my mind as to ideas for the page, you know, what I want it to look like, or like, you know, like up here, for instance, I looked at this dragonfly and I instantly knew that I wanted to color that on this page. and the ideas just started flowing to where I wanted to just bring some of the other colors in from the other parts of the page. And I don't know, sometimes it's not even about like what page I want to color. Sometimes it will be an object on a page that I really want to color because I have some really cool ideas for it. I just kind of want to bring it together. And I don't know if, well, I'm sure a lot of you saw, but I just got that beautiful new coloring book, Forest Girl, and I am so excited about that coloring book. I did my last tutorial on how to color texture on wood furniture, and I posted that video just yesterday. And that coloring book is so amazing to color in. It's like one of the ones that I could look through and I can find lots of inspiration within that book and look at all the different pages. I actually have a flip through of that book as well on my channel if you're interested in seeing that. But I know so many of you, after seeing me do that flip through and seeing my excitement over that book, I know so many of you went and purchased that book too. But anything I talk about in any of these videos, I'll always have a description or a link down in the description box if you guys are interested in purchasing something for yourself. But I will always try to leave the link for that Forest Girl coloring book down in my description box because I am literally obsessed with that coloring book. I love that coloring book, maybe even more than I love this one, but I don't know. Like, my favorite coloring books are World of Flowers by Joanna Basford, this Nightfall by Maria Trolle, and now the Forest Girl as well. And what is her other question? Okay, so that is how I decide what page I want to color next. She says, do you use a fixer or setting spray? I do. I use a setting spray, but only if I use pastels for the background. So that one was easy to answer. I've got plenty. I've got a whole playlist where I've done backgrounds and I've showed you. I don't know if I've showed you where I use the spray because I just don't want to do that on camera. As soon as I spray that stuff down on my page, I want to run out of the room. Like, the stuff stinks. I only use it if I have to use it. I don't like using things that have a very toxic smell or whatever on my coloring pages. The next part of her question, she asked me, what books and supplies do you think are essential for beginners trying to get started? I actually have a video I did on that, which was the very first video I did in my adult coloring for beginners series, and I will try to link that in the upper right hand corner if I've not already linked too many. So that question is actually already answered in a video. The next part of her question says, and finally, how do you make the time to color? Do you plan it into your week or do you just do it when you feel like it? Actually, for me, life is pretty busy between filming videos and editing them, and I try to stay on a schedule with the filming of my videos to where I have a video that is released every other day, and that's a lot. But my focus is to grow my channel, which I've been pretty successful with that, I think. I mean, I went from 1,000 subscribers to 9,000 subscribers in like maybe 9 months, which is crazy. But I like to stay on that schedule, and I like to bring everybody content that they want to see. So me being able to have time to color is kind of hard to fit in, because when I do have extra time, I like to take that time and spend it with my children or my grandchildren or my husband, and my time is very limited when I do have free time, so I like to make good use of that free time. So yeah, and when I do, if I do get time to actually sit down and color, it's usually very late at night, and I probably should be in bed. And then the other thing that happens is every time that I start working on something and I post it in my Facebook group, everybody's like, are we going to get a tutorial on that? Are we going to get a tutorial on that? So even if I do, that page that I'm coloring ends up turning into some kind of video, like the Forest Girl. So yeah. Okay, so I think I have answered quite a few questions now. I have finished the house. I might do a little bit more just to kind of add a few finishing touches to it off camera. And I want to be able to get this video edited and up, and I'm sure it's quite long already. It's really hard to color and answer questions and do a tutorial and show you guys how to choose colors and all of that stuff all in one video, and so it takes quite some time. So I hope you all appreciate the longer videos. I like doing them because I can just start talking and rambling and not stop talking. So I love that you guys are asking me questions, and I love answering your questions, and I will get on to the next set of questions in the next video in this series as we continue to color this beautiful page in Maria Trolle's Nightfall. So if you enjoyed this video, please do give it a thumbs up because that really helps others to see my videos. I will have everything you've seen down in the description box below. If you're interested in anything you've seen in this whole entire video, even while I was answering the questions, and I've brought things into the video to show you, all of that I will try to make sure is in the description box below so that y'all can find it easily. I hope that y'all really enjoyed this video. I enjoyed creating it, and I really love answering all of your questions. I will see you in the next video. Happy coloring. Bye.